In this video, we're going to look at setting up Docker in order to do development work on IMathAS. The advantage of Docker is that it is a containerized system, which means the web server and everything else runs inside a container. You don't have to worry about installing a bunch of additional software in trying to figure out the right software for your computer. Docker will work anywhere. So to get started, our first step is going to be to download Docker Desktop from docker.com. So go ahead and download that and install it on your computer, whatever kind of computer you have. The next step is going to be to download the Docker configuration. For that, we're going to go to GitHub. We're going to go to github.com /drlipman/IMathAS Docker, and this is the Docker file, or the sort of configuration stuff to make Docker work on for what we're doing. Now, we don't actually need to clone this repo because we're not going to be modifying it or contributing to it. So the easiest thing to do here is to click the code button and just download a zip file, and that will download a file onto your computer. And then you can, let me bring it over here. There we are. And then you can take that folder inside of that and stick it somewhere else. And I think I'm just going to drag it to my main C drive here. Hopefully that works. Yep, there it is. And I'm just going to rename it IMathAS Docker. Okay, so I've now taken that code, and you'll notice inside of that we have a few things. We've got this Docker YAML file, which is a configuration file. There's another file, Docker file, inside of that. Okay, so now we are going to need to edit these files. And so to do that, actually, let me come back over here to GitHub for a second. If you click, not this README, this one's not very useful, but if you click inside Docker, there's a README file here, which is going to go through the steps that we need. So the first step is that we need a copy of the IMathAS software. I covered that in an earlier video, so I'm assuming you already have one somewhere. In my case, I am going to use, oh, I thought I had a copy here. Okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. Now I've got a copy of the IMathAS software here in my root directory. You can, of course, put it anywhere. So I've completed step 1, get a copy of the software. Number 2, install Docker, which we just talked about. And then third, we're going to edit that Docker compose file to make sure that the path points to your copy. So in my directory here, I'm going to go into the IMathAS Docker folder, and I'm going to edit the Docker compose YAML. And you can open it in a code editor if you'd like. I'm just being lazy and opening it in Notepad. And we're just going to scroll down here, and this is the one that we need to worry about. Under volumes, we want to change this so that this here points to wherever you put the IMathAS software. For me, it is in /C, which means the C drive /IMathAS, and that's going to get mapped to the web root directory. You can have it mapped to a subdirectory or something if you prefer. But there we go. So I don't actually have to change anything here, but if you had put the code in a different directory, you would need to edit this here and then save it. And that's the only thing we really need to edit there. So our next step is going to be to actually run the Docker compose up in order to have Docker build the environment. Now, in order to do that, we're going to need to go to the command line. So in my case, I'm going to go down, I'm on Windows 10, I'm going to go into the run menu and type cmd. That brings up the command prompt, and that will give me a good old-fashioned DOS command prompt. So now I'm going to cd /, that'll put me in the root directory, and then I can cd change directory into IMathAS /-docker. And from here, this is where I'm going to run docker-compose up and hit enter. Now, this is going to take a while, so I'll be back with you once this is done. Okay, and I believe it's done. So now I'm going to go into the taskbar, and you can't see this, unfortunately, in the recording. But if you go to the taskbar, find Docker, and click on it, it should bring up the Docker dashboard or desktop, which will look something like this. I have a second container, just ignore that one. But this is the one that we just set up, the IMathAS Docker. You'll notice that there is an app server, a PHP admin server. This is for doing database administration, and the database server, and those are all up and running. So now if we go to our web server, like it says here in a web browser, we're going to go to http://localhost/install.php. So I'm going to open a new tab and do that. It's going to give you this warning, just do the advanced and proceed thing. That's because it's a unsigned certificate. And now we're going to use the values that are given here in that README file. So for the database server, we're going to put DB. The database name, IMathAS DB. Here, this is going to be IMathAS. And these are values that are hard-coded into that configuration, that YAML file. You could change them if you really wanted to, but it doesn't matter. And then all the rest of these things you can customize if you would like, but we don't need to. We can just hit continue. You're probably going to see a few warnings. Don't worry about it. That's just because you're on Windows. It just behaves a little weird. And then we can come down and continue to creating the database tables. We're going to get another couple warnings. And now we are being asked to create our initial user. So this is going to be your initial login. So you can go ahead and create a username and a password here if you are so inclined. In my case, I'm just going to leave this as root in root and click on Set Up Database. And then we're going to get, and again, a few errors, just ignore them. And then all these database setup things are going to happen, but we are now done, and we can now go to the login page and log in with that username and password that we just provided. And there we go. Now we have our system. We are ready to start doing stuff, using it. Now, the really cool thing here is because we connected it and are running the code base off of that directory of code that we had in our system, as you do development work, so if you create a new branch, if you start making changes, you will see those changes reflected in this localhost web server as you use it. And so that allows you to test your changes and make sure that they're working properly. And there we go. Now we've got the basic web server running and database running in order to be able to do some development work on IMathAS.